If you're a top producer, new agent, or even a team lead considering switching brokerages, you must watch this video. I'm here to share my experience on why we left X broker or broker X. I won't be naming any names, unfortunately, but we were there from June of 2024 all the way till October of 2024. This video isn't just to criticize, to get hype on a video, but to look at why it didn't work for us at Addison Real Estate. Honestly, felt like we took more steps back than moving forward. We ultimately ended up paying them about $70,000. While this company might be a really good fit for others, I actually would even recommend it to some people because they're super innovative, have some great stuff to offer. So let's dive into why. Number one, paperwork. The great thing about X-Broker is that they helped us become very compliant with a lot of the documents we actually needed to have on our, for example, dot loop. A lot of state regulations and stuff changed, and they made us aware of stuff that we need to have on file in order for us to, not get sued, which is great. But their system for approving and looking over paperwork got really messy. At Addison Real Estate, we just use dot loop, and it's been super easy. We upload everything. Our office admin, the lovely Aunt Jean, goes over everything, and if we have anything missing, she'll notify us. Easy peasy, no problem. However, on Broker X's agent dashboard, you'd have kind of like a chat portion where they would communicate with you either with the admins or with the state broker of record, and they would tell you what you need, what's missing, a signature here, a signature there, which on paper, this sounds like a really positive thing. You have multiple people looking at stuff, easy flow, just getting it through the pipeline. There's so much paperwork that's involved in this, as everybody knows. But the problem was no one was ever on the same page with what's needed. This signature is good. This signature is not good enough. This document's fine. This document's not fine. You'd have multiple people confused over one piece of paper or one signature. And it was just an utter nightmare, almost to the point where our broker of record and the office admin would spend anywhere from 20 to 25 hours a week just arguing and trying to get things approved and move things along. And it was just complete nightmare. And what was really cool in the beginning is that they told us during the attorney review process, we should upload all those documents to the virtual filing cabinet, which was awesome. Made sense. Keep everything on record just in case. But the link they provided / the email that they wanted us to forward it to would sometimes not work. And then when it would work, it would occasionally delete everything. And again, would go back to the broker, our broker, Colleen Addison, and office admin having to get everything in order, have it submitted again, and just so much time wasted. Number two, commission checks. Now, when it comes to people's money, you really don't want to be messing around. This stems directly from the paperwork issue. Broker X wouldn't release your commission check until all your paperwork was compliant and submitted, which honestly makes total sense. There's no complaint here. But the problem is, like I said earlier, if no one's on the same page on what needs to be submitted and what's good enough, then what's going on here? This would cause delays on people getting paid. One of the biggest issues were the commission statements. Now, if you're a new agent or just getting into it, a commission statement is just where your office will print out a sheet that says who gets paid what, where to send the money, etc., etc. Because we joined X-Broker as a private label, which I'll get into shortly, we would keep our name, Addison Real Estate, but just use the resources and function as X-Broker. But when submitting the commission statements, a lot of the title companies were very, very confused. Why are these agents writing deals under Addison Real Estate when they're really part of this broker? And it was really confusing. And unfortunately, Broker X did not have a remedy for this situation. And we just had to, like I said, we took a lot of steps back. We had to adopt their commission statements. And then when that wasn't working out, we had to take steps back to make our own commission statements and combine the two so there'd be less confusion. As you can see just by the second point, we had to go out of our way to adopt a new system when we were promised something would work when it didn't. With the commission issue specifically, they did have the option for direct deposit, which was awesome. Some of our agents would get their money within 48 hours, but every single agent in the office at some point had deals where they'd have to wait 2 or 3 weeks after the closing, after all the paperwork was submitted, because broker X did not have their stuff in order. Number 3, private label. As I hinted to earlier, the private labels was so as an independent brokerage, we can keep our name, kind of like a mom and pop, but have the resources and accessibility to everything that broker X had. This way, we didn't have to change our name completely or say powered by at the bottom or anything. At the time, we were actually the first private label in the whole entire state of New Jersey, which we thought was really cool to kind of lead that way and kind of grow in our area and show people about broker X and show them all the cool stuff. But they were actually not prepared at all. Being the first was not a good thing. They had no idea what they were doing, it seemed like, and caused a lot of confusion and friction because of that private label situation. And this started all the way from the very beginning, from onboarding and then also to the commission stuff. A smaller issue was because of the Addison Real Estate, but it's a part of X-Broker. Some of the agents in our office were a little confused on how to market themselves, which wasn't a big deal. Just kind of came down to their personal preference, but it actually worked out totally fine on the consumer end as we just kept our independent name. As an independent, when we were recruiting people and we're part of X-Broker now, it was a little confusing when hiring new agents. They were a little confused with how the two kind of came together. Again, not a big deal as long as you kind of get that presentation with them streamlined. But one thing to keep in mind if you're a team lead or a broker or whoever you are watching this video. Number 4, unusable technology. X-Broker really promotes himself as being tech forward and really innovative, and I actually really do believe that is the case. They bring so much to the table that a lot of companies do not, so I can't take this away from them in any capacity. However, there were some drawbacks. I think that because they were such leaders of innovation that they were falling behind on maintenance, so making sure that these things actually work and the systems required to take on independent brokerages or to absorb larger teams was not fully smooth and streamlined. That is totally normal as you're growing as a company, so that's fully expected, but to be promised that everything is working and fine goes beyond some growing pain just because you're learning something new. One of the examples being their e-sign program. So instead of using like a dot loop or a DocuSign, they promised that whatever they had was much better or more efficient. But of course, with the theme of this video, that was not the case. And we had to go backwards using dot loop, which we believe is just ultimately superior. Their agent portal / backend actually looks really, really nice. I think it comes together really well, but outside of some useful items, it's mainly just shiny bells and whistles. Not every agent's going to use all of it, which is totally fine. But it seems that you're promised a lot, but end up only using like 1% of it. So take that as it be. Now, if you're a broker considering a change to a company like Broker X or a team lead, this is super important for you to know. Part of joining X-Broker, obviously there's commissions and splits and how much they get, how much we receive. That's always involved, which is totally normal and expected. And we felt fine with that once we joined. However, there was no proper way to really track how much money we were giving them. Every agent's portal, you can see how close you are to capping, how close you are to your team's cap, which looks great. And it comes together really nicely, but it wouldn't work. The math wouldn't add up. Some of our capping agents who we knew were capped would not show, and then would also affect brokers' calculations on how much we've given X-Broker and how much they need to get. It made absolutely no sense, and we had to contact support so many times. It became so much of an issue that our broker had to manually calculate 25 agents, their splits and their caps, which is absolutely ridiculous. When you're considering who's capping, different agents at different splits, taxes, and broker fees, that becomes an absolute nightmare that no one should have to do in this modern day with all this technology. And of course, this is more issues that when we would bring it up to people, the leaders and admins were never on the same page on what to do, what to say, or how to get the issue resolved. And from the time we were there, they were never resolved. Number 5, slightly deceptive advertising. I do want to tread lightly here because this, I wouldn't say is a fault on Broker X, but more so on who is pitching them to you. So the representative or the agent or whoever it is. In this case, we felt that we were explaining things very loosely with not a lot of detail. One of the big things that's promoted is healthcare, which if you're kind of new to the scene, agents or brokers don't really get or offered healthcare. So this was actually a huge incentive for us joining. But when you kind of look under the hood, they do have healthcare, but there are also health shares. Now, if you don't know, not to get too technical because I had to look into this, but health share is not ACA compliant, which means that if you have a pre-existing condition or something happens to you, the companies do have a right at some point to kick you off and not able to join back. Now, the ACA is there to make this illegal for healthcare companies, but health share companies can get around this. I have literally called Broker X's representatives on this topic. I've gotten mixed information. I've also called the health share companies directly. I have not gotten a straight answer on this. So you'd have to do your research on that if you're joining X broker or a brokerage that offers that type of healthcare or health share situation. They said that they have retirement plans, which they kind of do. From the stocks you can purchase in the company or other type of financial reward programs, which I will get into, you can follow what their definition of retirement is and actually get money over time, which could contribute to a retirement. This is actually kind of neat because you don't really see offices or brokerages with this. But in my personal opinion, I thought this was kind of stupid for this to be promoted so hard because one, that money, let's say in the stock purchasing program, had to stay in that program for an X amount of years. And if you look at the numbers, the average agent, 75% of them quit in their first year of real estate. So it's not even guaranteed to most people. So I thought that was a little silly. And number two, on a completely personal, this is not financial advice. I would never take my commission money and dump it back into the company. God forbid something happens, they tank, something happens. That's just not for me, and it's advertised, but I would never go ahead and do that personally. On a smaller note, they do have options for more traditional style retirements like a Roth IRA or a 401k. And yes, there are 401ks for self-employed. You can contact whoever you want for that, but yes, there are. However, this was kind of the equivalent of just slapping a link onto a website and saying it's totally innovative. If I just went ahead and slapped a Fidelity or Robinhood link onto my profile, I'm not going to say that is a genius new way of retirement programs for realtors. Number 6, a recruiting farm. This point is more of a personal pet peeve of mine. To be fully transparent, we joined X Broker because the rewards and incentives when it comes to growth and recruiting were actually really freaking good. There are some people in the company who are making 6 to allegedly 7 figures of passive income just from having a bunch of agents under them. And to a degree, this YouTube channel exists to help Addison Real Estate grow. We want people to join, but along the way, we want you to get value. If you don't want to join, totally fine. And same thing with them. We're not forcing anybody to do anything, but we want to make sure that if you're into us and you have any questions, what we offer will work. Technology will work. Huge difference though was that Broker X claimed that they didn't want to be a recruiting farm. They only wanted producing agents. But it felt kind of slimy when you look at their educational classes for the month. You would see regular classes about having people join the company, how to bring people over. So it felt kind of slimy when they were like, hey, we're not about just recruiting people, but here are classes to recruit people. And then they also didn't want you to share those classes so people didn't know. So that was just a weird position to be in. Very little transparency in that area. And listen, we can't hide our intentions. We're a business. We want to make money, but we want to make sure you grow. If you make money, we make money, and hopefully everyone's happy. And the problem here is we just felt that they weren't honest with us. I've been in interviews with agents wanting to join Addison Real Estate, and I've straight up told them that I do have a financial incentive, right? This is part of my job. But again, transparency, and we're letting you know off the bat. But if you see some value in what we're willing to offer you to be a successful agent, then hopefully it works out and it's a win-win. At the end of the day, we could not stand having to micromanage so many unnecessary details when we were promised that workload would be taken off of us. It was also frustrating to have to develop new systems in order to integrate with their systems for everything to run smoothly. More work than necessary. What are my biggest takeaways I'd recommend to you while you're looking at brokerages? If you're a new agent and you're not really familiar with a lot of stuff, just ask a lot of very pointed and direct questions if you get approached by a company or walk into somewhere that have these sort of incentives, rewards, or programs. If you're a team lead, I would recommend really sitting down with whoever you interview with and letting them show you in depth how paperwork is handled, what do their systems look like, and what is the commission situation going to look like? Because if it's anything like X broker, you are going to want to rip your freaking hair out because it was awful for us. If you're a top producer, I'd consider the perspective of a new agent and a team lead. You're absolutely crushing it right now, so you don't want to be bogged down by these inefficiencies and these false incentives that might be around for any brokerage, broker X, whatever it may be. And as most top producers want to do is create a team. So you want to make sure that where you're going is going to be smooth. Of course, outside of the onboarding process, which will be kind of a pain in the butt no matter where you go. As an independent brokerage, and maybe an encouragement to someone watching this, is we took a lot of confidence in our own systems. Just because we're small doesn't mean we don't have stuff that's not better. And I would even argue a lot of our systems are better than Broker X. But on the flip side, just because Broker X was not the right place for us doesn't mean it'll be a horrible place for you. And truthfully, Broker X has resources we cannot provide at the time. Hopefully one day, but just not right now. My advice is do your research, ask your questions, ask agents in the company what they think, and hopefully you get to walk away and find happiness somewhere. And speaking of finding happiness, I have people reaching out every week about Addison Real Estate. If you're a new agent, top producer, or team lead, feel free to contact us with the information down below to see if we'd be a good fit. Have a good one and see you in the next one.